Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We have been waiting for this event, and here we are at Realtion Expo 2024. My name is Jutasini. I am honored to be your host for these 2 days of this event at the Speakers Forum. Without further ado, let's begin our first sessions of the day with real estate market analysis, the forecast for the next 5 years. Please welcome the moderator, Costa Magridis, board member, International Tax and Corporate Services from KPMG, who will introduce the panel to you. Please give them a warm welcome.
Good morning. Welcome to Cyprus. My name is Kostas Markidis, and I will be your moderator for the next 40 to 45 minutes. Allow me to do a small introduction so we can set the stage for what will follow. A once-in-a-lifetime pandemic that swept across the globe, shutting down all major economic activity and disrupting well-established distribution chains, pushing economies and governments alike off the brink of collapse, followed by a war, the first after decades of relative calm and peace within the continent of Europe, and most recently a second war, this time between Israel and Hamas in our own backyard, which can, without any warning, escalate into a major regional conflict, literally throwing the greater area of the Middle East into further chaos. Multiple and consecutive crises within the span of just a few short years have caused chaos and have thrown global trade, capital markets, and distribution chains deep into uncharted waters. It is no exaggeration to say that unpredictability and uncertainty are the trademarks of our times. On this positive note, dear friends, guests, ladies and gentlemen, I know there are more deviations nowadays, and I apologize if I don't cover all categories. Allow me to warmly welcome you to the beautiful island of Cyprus, and at this stage, allow me to introduce to you our esteemed panelists. In random order, Mrs. Sofia Paraskeva, Marketing and Communication Manager for Cybarco, Mrs. Christina Kokkalu, Managing Director, IMR University of Nicosia, Mr. Andreas Christoforidis, CEO, Land Bank Property Consultants, Mr. George Chrysochos, Managing Director, Seifield, and Dr. Marc-Antoine Zabal, President of the American University of Cyprus. I didn't expect an applause at this stage, but you're more than welcome. So let's start with our questions. First question goes to Mr. George Chrysochos, and I would appreciate if I can also have Mark's comments as well. Taking into consideration the proximity of Cyprus to the Middle East and the current geo-economical and social political factors affecting this area, what are your views, George, on the impact this may have on the economy of Cyprus, but more specifically on the real estate market in Cyprus, which is of interest to all of us here?
Yes, exactly. That's probably the most important factor affecting both the economy and real estate in Cyprus. As you know, Cyprus real estate depends largely on foreign investment and the confidence of the market into Cyprus. So anything that happens around us does indeed affect. There is a paradox, though, in Cyprus. Cyprus shines always as a beacon of stability, a resilient corner in the Mediterranean, where wherever there is an issue, wherever there is instability, people find refuge. Investors find refuge. Companies find refuge. We've seen this happening since the 80s with the Lebanese civil war. We've seen this happening after the fall of the Eastern Bloc and the Soviet Union in the 90s. People were coming to Cyprus as a result. We've seen this happening many times. We've seen in 22 with the war in Ukraine, and now we're seeing it with Israel. Always, when there is a tension somewhere, there is a very short-term shock. So we do see some disruption that lasts usually 1-2 months. Once the shock goes away, people start to think rationally, and they think that, okay, I need to move my operations, my business, my family somewhere safer. I need to have a second home. I need to have a second country. And Cyprus is always very welcoming for everyone. It doesn't matter where you come from, what's your background. Cyprus does welcome Lebanese, Israelis, Ukrainians, Russians, everyone. The reason that these people come in Cyprus do continue to exist, apart from being stable, apart from being a member of the European Union, having a stable economy, being inside the Eurozone. There are also numerous other advantages for investors, like the taxes, the patent law, regulatory structures which are softer. And these things will continue to exist in the next 5 years, as the title of our panel is. So we will see this trend continue. So whenever there is instability, people in Cyprus will take advantage of so many other things that we are offering as a country. Good climate, good lifestyle, good healthcare, good education, and they will be coming here. So I think that despite any instability and geopolitical tension in the region, Cyprus economy and the real estate will continue to rise and keep its momentum, its current momentum.
Thank you, George. Mark, would you like to add anything on that?
Good morning. Yeah, it's working. Good. I agree with everything. Knowing that in 74, when the Turkish occupation and the Turkish assault on Cyprus, Cypriots also found refuge in Lebanon. And this is where, for example, my family started having relationships with Cypriots. We are living in a place where there's a huge turmoil, like it or not. The only thing, I guess, what Cyprus can do and what Lebanon failed to do is to create a sustainable environment, sustainable economy. Not only taking bits from the turmoils in the region and actually waiting for a conflict for the economy to be boosted. In parallel also, we have to be there because Cyprus, as the gentleman just said, it's a haven for lots of us. We know that. But also we need to create a sustainable economy. And in sustainable economy, we need education, we need enterprises, we need new SMEs, new laws, new regulations. This is the Cypriots' decision to open the island or leave it as it is. It's the decision of the people and the parliament. But definitely, Cyprus can play a vital role in sustainable economy as well as a refugee for places, I mean, turmoil with wars and everything worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I couldn't agree more with you. And because I promised that this will be a very honest and transparent panel, we have a threat from Hezbollah. I hope that this doesn't materialize and that the situation remains stable as we are. So, moving on to Sophia. Sophia, what are the primary drivers that are expected to affect real estate prices and consequently demand in the next 5 years, assuming always that current market conditions prevail? I know it's a tough question. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow, but let's assume that we have stability for the next 5 years. And then, Andrea, I want to give you a heads up. I want your comments as well.
Thank you, Costa. It's lovely to be here today. Just as a minor diversion, I want to thank the organizers because I feel like today is seminal for 2 reasons. The location. We are in one of many large-scale mixed-use developments that came in as a huge investment to the island that have changed the face of the island. So that, for me, is one indication of the trajectory. I mean, Limassol alone the number of projects that have come along the coastline. We have a super yacht marina, we have a casino now. So that growth in itself is part and parcel of my response. But also the other thing is how many real estate professionals we've managed to gather under one roof for the next 2 days, which again is an indication of how much this market is continuing to thrive. It's been growing steadily since the banking crisis in 2013. The other half of our marketing department is here today, Alexia. Now, our job is nothing short of comedic these last few years because we keep being asked to put strategies and budgets together and then something happens. And it's crisis management. What do we do now? And as developers trying to constantly, as you said, stay ahead of the game, be proactive rather than reactive, is something that we have learned to do very well. And the important thing for me now is that not only is the market proving to be buoyant, but also appetite for investment isn't waning. We still have people investing in Cyprus, both on the local and the international front. Something that's also very interesting for us is the influx of ICT companies. I live in Limassol, obviously, this is my hometown. Just walking around the city, the demographics change so much. And the web of needs that that ecosystem brings to the island has been very, very critical in determining the next 5 years. So we have nothing but a sense of optimism. I see no reason why anything would change, given we say τους πάτσους που είχαμε in Cyprus, but I mean constant, one crisis after the other. We're still here, we're still standing. For an event like this, of this scale to take place, and for there to be this much interest, I think we just have to stay focused. And to answer your question more directly, supply and demand define pricing. So we have an issue, which we're talking about later, with the issuance of permits. The market needs to catch up. We're not providing according to the demand at the moment because of these delays, and that is pushing prices up. So I would say that we now have to put our heads together and focus on the next 5 years so that we can achieve that trajectory and stay on that growth.
Thank you. Thank you, Sofia.
Good morning to our esteemed guests and fellow speakers. Cyprus real estate market is experiencing unprecedented growth in prices and in demand in 2023. Regarding the drivers that are affecting the demand for the real estate market in the next 5 years, I believe that economic factors are very important. Cyprus is experiencing a robust GDP growth coupled with unemployment rate and also moderate inflation the last couple of years. These economic indicators, I believe, they support strong consumer confidence, and also they are boosting the real estate investment in Cyprus. The second factor is the demographic. This is what I have said earlier. Cyprus, the island, is attracting a diverse range of foreigners. We have from Israel, from Russia, Ukraine. So all this demand has driven and the prices up, and also the demand is increasing. The permanent residency program, it's also boosting the demand and the economy in the market.
Do we have enough supply of those properties in Cyprus for the 300, or is it just 1-2 million and up?
Well, taking into consideration the data that we have from the Department of Land and Surveys, every year, Kostas, we have 4,000 apartments for sale in the market every year. The new apartments, 4,000. So, yes, we can meet the supply.
Christina, welcome. Hopefully, apart from the familiar faces that we see in the audience, there are some investors as well. So I would like to ask you, based on your field of expertise, to outline, please, the main criteria that buyers should keep in mind when selecting a property.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll tell you a bit about what we do. For the past 20 years, we've been studying how the consumers or interested buyers, potential buyers, what are the important criteria when deciding where to purchase from. It's important. What we do, we consult companies in your sector, what's the best way forward, or even in the initial thought, where should the location be of their new projects. What we've seen with confidence, and we could say for sure over the past years, is that the criteria of consumers do change. They are affected by various external factors. And of course, recently, due to the economic pressure that we've all been living due to the global economic crisis and everything, we've seen that consumer did change the way that they purchase, the way that they intend to invest. So one of the most important things for consumer or for the companies who want to attract potential consumer is to understand the specific criteria that customers and the segments. For instance, if it's a new time buyer of a home, then they definitely have different criteria. If it's a second time, or if they're interested in buying a family home or for an investment or a second home for a vacational home, the criteria do change. One criteria that always comes as first on their list is location. Location is number one, especially in Cyprus, because if we're talking about Cypriots wanting to buy, they want to be next to their family, so they could probably take care of the children, amenities nearby, schools nearby. So that's number one for families wanting to buy, the location. Another important factor is their return on their investment. They want to know that the property they're going to buy is going to have a value in case they want to resell the property. Of course, what has changed in the criteria is the advancements in technology. They're looking for smart homes, smart solutions, or even green buildings now is the new trend, energy efficient, so they want to be able to save money on the long term. So these are new criteria that they weren't here before. And that's how the construction developer companies now need to adjust. And of course, what's the most important is that consumers are now very smart themselves. They have access to a tremendous amount of information in the palm of their hand through their smartphones. So there must be a transparent, we'll discuss later on, depending on the reputation of the companies, there must be a transparent relationship based on trust, which will influence and for sure have a final decisive factor, where will they purchase or where will the investment be.
Thank you. Of course, buying a property very close to your family's house is a unique Cyprus criterion.
Cyprus, of course.
Maybe they have it in Greece and Italy to some degree, but...
In Cyprus, yes.
George, what is the market profile in different districts of Cyprus? What is the current demand, and what is the profile of the prospective buyers? Where are the prices expected to go?
Just a small comment on your previous remark is usually the parents are buying a plot near their house so they can bind their kids to stay there forever.
That's what That's what Sophia said. We are proactive, not reactive.
No, my mother's English. She wanted me to go far away. It's fine.
Okay.
And then
I was referring to the proactive nature of Cypriots, which is only limited to this
and it's
subject,
very
I
true.
think.
It's very true
Yes,
what
but
George
then,
said.
and then we argue and we discuss with the potential clients how much they're going to give us the plot in so they can buy a house far away from their parents. So it creates disputes even at the sale time. Anyway, so going back to the question, I heard a few people already today, since we have so many esteemed professionals in the market, discussing or complaining a little bit about the decrease in demand this year compared to last year. But I disagree. It's not a decrease in demand, it's normalization. Last year was crazy. We cannot have crazy years every year. Last year we could not cope with the demand that we had in Cyprus. Developers had no availability last year to sell. So the construction industry could not keep up. But anyway, so this year is going to be a very good normal year. So no one should be disappointed. On the contrary, we should be positive about the outlook of real estate demand in the next few years. So Cyprus is a small country, and the things that affect demand are similar from district to district. There are a few differences. I mean, the general things are usually the tendency of foreign investors, the mortgage rates, how much the bank's willingness is to lend money for property. These are the two strongest factors. And that is the true for the whole Cyprus. However, each district has its own unique characteristics, which are very interesting from what we see. We see Limassol, of course, being on the forefront of foreign investment, being a city which will soon be compared to Cannes or Monaco. I do believe in Limassol. It has a strong potential. However, it does depend, of course, in foreign investment. We see Larnaca with a potential, always a few drawbacks. You know, Larnaca people, they always like challenges, so changing a port or the marina developer will be challenging in the next period. But it will come around. Paphos, an ideal retirement place, an idyllic scene for people who want to come and live and relax. Not so much as a business center as Limassol or Nicosia. And we do see Nicosia driven by a strong local demand. And that is where I want to stand mostly. We always talk about foreign investment and foreign demand, and we're always pushing because, you know, that's fresh money coming directly into the economy. However, from the sales of lands and registration last year, not in the value of sales, in the number of sales, most of them were done by locals. So local demand, Cypriots are still at the forefront of the transaction volume. So therefore, we should not abandon the Cypriot buyer, the local buyer. And unfortunately, we see towns which are doing that with the type of properties that are coming out. Therefore, I do urge the market to follow the local demand in all areas. Government is doing some efforts with affordable housing, of course, and all us developers should support this effort by the government in order to provide more for the local buyer, which usually is forgotten in Cyprus.
Thank you for the local twist.
And the last comment about the prices is that as long as the banks are willing to lend money, as long as the foreign demand, which we talk so much about, is stable, and as long as there is the right product for the local buyer, the prices will definitely not go down. I don't think there will be a huge appreciation in the next few years because it's been normalized, as I said at the beginning. But I think it will keep a constant, normal rising prices and a constant and steady demand in the next 5 years in every district.
I fully agree, but if we count on the Cyprus banks for the market to be driven, I am not very optimistic. Andrea, I know that your proximity to the field. Would you like to add any comments on what George has just said?
Yes, I totally agree with what George said. Each city in Cyprus has its own characteristics. For example, Nicosia is a capital city. We do have the governmental buildings. We have the universities. So the demand it's coming from the internal, from local families, Also, in Larnaca, it's also upcoming city. Despite the setback of the Marina Gideon, I'm very optimistic that Larnaca has still to do yet. Limassol is international business hub. We have the relocation also of these ICT companies, and I'm also very optimistic about Limassol. Paphos is totally different. It's a city that attracts most of retirement people, and Famagusta as well is driven less by foreigners and more by locals.
Thank you, Andrea. Mark, In your initial comments, you made a mention about our lack of sustainable growth and the need to pursue one. And I think that will only come with education and developing a culture of being involved in fields of sustainability and sustainable growth. So I think that from your position, you are in the best situation to let us know about the importance of academic institutions, schools and universities, and the important role they have to play in helping create a favorable environment for real estate, for investments, but also as a culture, I think.
Okay. 2 semesters ago, I started teaching at our program in real estate. And I learned a lot about real estate, okay? We started with methodology, research. That's what I teach. And I got the numbers and I got the feeling about the real estate here in Cyprus, especially that our students, they are from all over Cyprus, not only Larnaca, which I stand with Larnaca a lot. I love the city. The thing is, when we're talking about sustainable, I mean, our research projects are giving us a very important insight, is that in case, and we all hope, that wars will stop, because there's no way the war will continue. And when those wars will stop, if you don't have an industry, a strong industry, if we don't have a very specific economical target, then what will happen? If we do have them, then real estate will actually keep on growing, because people will come, they will invest in Cyprus, but on industries, sustainability, anything. But if it's the other way around, what will happen? And this is the question lots of my students were actually asking me, and they were right about that. And in education, Cyprus moved a great steps towards an international educational system. I mean, we have the University of Nicosia here. It's one of the biggest universities in Cyprus. The good thing in academics, we never see ourselves as competitors, but as actually colleagues. And we actually learned a lot from local universities. We brought UMass with us, Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and everybody is so thrilled to live the Cypriot experience when it comes to culture, because it's an open culture. This is highly important for our international students. Also, the infrastructure is great, but the only thing we always feel that we need to work towards is a more sustainable economical system, knowing that real estate is great. It's a huge part of the GNP, GDP, we understand that. But at the same time, we believe that Cyprus is more than lands, honestly, to develop. It's a great culture. We need to develop this culture, that's it.
Scale 1 to 10, where does Cyprus stand?
In where?
Sustainable growth and...
1 to 10 on Europe, worldwide, where?
Cyprus scale.
Cyprus scale. Sustainability, it's a 7, solid 7.
So that's not very bad.
No, definitely. Bad. And you work in the same thing. I mean, I noticed you're at KPMG, right?
Yeah, for now.
For now. All right. Any offer on the table? No? All right. So definitely we're on the same length of thinking. That's it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Sophia, you represent one of the major developers on the island. So I would also like to hear your perspective on what is driving growth these past few years in Cyprus. Is it just the coincidence of what is happening around us, or is it something more solid?
Look, I think where there are a lot of people in the sector, a lot of companies in the sector with a lot of experience who have seen a lot, we've survived a lot. It's a case of, and a kind of a compilation of everything that's been said, vision and strategy. And I think that's one of the very important things in sustaining the growth. You have to have vision, you have to have a strategy, and these sort of ad hoc decisions, things that are done without appropriate planning. You know, these are the things that we have a gripe with as well as development companies. And actually, I'm going to, again, divert a little bit, but I'm sure a lot of people in this room share my frustration that on both a professional and a personal level, whenever I'm speaking to people, they want to talk about real estate, they want to vent, they want to share their fears, their frustrations, and their angers about various things going on the island, because there is a lot of growth and it's very quick. And sometimes when you're evolving too quickly, you don't have time to adjust appropriately, you don't make the right moves. So I would say that a lot of the growth can be attributed to lessons learned along the way. The pandemic was a huge hit, but it gave a lot of time for reflection. It gave companies time to sit and review their strategies. I know that with PwC, there's been a Vision 2035 that a lot of the private sector key drivers are involved in. And for me, it's a case of looking back at what we can take from the diversity of the sector. And I think Yorgos said it before, there is always something for everyone in Cyprus. And that's why I'm always very uncomfortable talking only about the luxury sector or the high-end sector. There's a lot of misinformation in Cyprus from people who assume that they're the only property selling. And as you said, I mean, I think last year I spotted this last night in the Deloitte report. In 2023, please correct me if I'm wrong, if I am wrong, 3.4 billion in sales on newly built properties of an average transaction value of 259,000. So let's talk about the reality of what's going on in real estate, because I think one of the reasons we are here today and one of the reasons we are still thriving is because we have a holistic perspective of what our needs are, and developers are adjusting their strategies to make sure they can tailor for all these customer profiles. And every city has something different to offer, I agree. And people relocating here, the ICT companies have needs. They also need better infrastructure. And these are the things that we are working on. And because we're working on them, I think this growth is being sustained for the short term. And we just have to keep looking more long term at what's going to come after the 5 years, actually, I would say now.
Thank you, Sophia. I took a note that you have mentioned both PwC and Deloitte in your short
we have a rule of three. You have to produce three.
I will be skipping your next question. Thank you for today. Christina, we have two developers among us, one of the most big and prestigious. But I want your opinion as an independent party. How important is the reputation, the credibility, and in general, the overall image of the developer in the market?
That's an excellent question, and the reputation is one of the decisive factors when we're coming to close the deal with the client. What's important for the consumer as far as the reputation is concerned is the image, is the brand image. Yes, I have two of the largest, one to my right and one to my left.
So be careful.
I'm not going to say names, but what's important, the number one for a potential buyer is the reliability. The reliability of the developer. How's the reliability measured? One of the most important is the track record of each development, like its ability of the developer to undertake and deliver a project on time. That's very important. So that has to do with their reliability, their ability to pay warranties, their ability to be there where the consumer is. The financial stability, of course. Potential clients want to know that the developer has the financial stability to develop and successfully develop the project. More than that, I have to say, as far as reputation is concerned, because we're working with some of the leading development companies in Cyprus, the reputation does vary within cities, despite the small size of Cyprus. For instance, a company might have a different perception and image in Limassol and a different in Nicosia. Because in Cyprus, another of, which is a very characteristics of Cypriot society, we tend to support our own. For instance, in Larnaca, we see some local developers, because they have a background, they're born and raised in Larnaca, people tend to prepare their local companies. Even though I'll agree with what Sofia says, developers need to adjust their strategies according to the changes in the development they see. For instance, the luxury, what Sofia said is very correct. What's considered a luxury for a consumer? What was considered a luxury 10 years ago might have been underfloor heating, for instance, or a second bathroom, or a guest bathroom, or large verandas. These are no longer considered luxuries. And it's another set of criteria that are considered a luxury nowadays. And what we've seen is developers that were providing luxuries, now they see the needs of the local market, like very correct Yorgos has mentioned, and also Kostas. And the local market, nowadays, the majority of the potential clients cannot afford. So we see large companies that were providing only large properties now providing like a 2-bedroom apartment in what's considered to be an affordable prices for young families. So companies need to adjust. They always need to take into consideration their image, their positioning into their market, and of course the penetration strategy in each city. Fortunately or unfortunately, in this case, because there is a lot of adjustment, needs to be different. Yeah? Because in each city they face different competition from different companies.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. My next question is to George. George, I have took a note that you mentioned that 2023 was a crazy year in terms of demand, and 2024 will be a very good year. But, you know, in general, how is the construction industry catching up with the housing needs and real estate demand on the island? And what are the biggest challenges that developers face going forward? Sofia will consider if you can also address this question.
Last Monday, 3 days ago, one of the biggest transformations in the history of Republic happened with a new local government structure. That would be either a salvation or a destruction for the real estate market. With the new issuance of the permits, along with the discussions of the Ministry of Interior for the architects to be able to issue a permit of buildings up to 2 stories. So one side of catching up with the demand in terms of new builds, in terms of new construction, is the permit sector, which is suffering. But there are good ideas and good proposals in order to fix this, and we're going to see how this aligns with the new local government regulations as well, and local government structure. The biggest bottleneck, though, in creating these new buildings is the construction industry in Cyprus. Construction industry in Cyprus has had 40,000 workers total in 2017 and in 2023. So real estate sales have increased by 7 times, while the construction industry has not necessarily increased by similar volume. So we've seen delays on projects. The shortage of labor in the construction industry is the biggest bottleneck in creating new projects right now, in creating new housing, in finding or in implementing the affordable housing policy of the government is getting blocked by how much developers can build. Because since there is still demand for what we call these conventional units, then why would the developer take resources to a different section of the real estate market, which is affordable housing, and implement it when there are no resources available? So we are in discussion, of course, with policymakers, with the government, to allow more foreign workers to come to Cyprus and support the industry. Otherwise, the real estate market will remain bottlenecked for the next years. So this is the biggest challenge for me, to tackle for government.
Thank you, George. Sophia, I'll give you a second chance to rectify.
As per the KPMG report you shared yesterday.
That will be issued next year.
They do it with the RICS, right? You do it with RICS report. So KPMG also has a report with RICS in case someone is wondering.
I mean, I second everything that Yorgos said. Obviously, the cost of materials as well. Hello?
Not me, not me.
Hello. Yeah, I bet you did that, yeah. The cost of materials, the difficulty in allocating resources in construction. I mean, we've been living it quite vividly at our projects. I mean, as you know, Trilogy's due to be opening. It's something that has been a problem for us, an ongoing problem since the pandemic. And the other thing which, without wanting to give away my age, I've been experiencing since we moved into Limassol Marina and started dredging the seabed is the need for improved cooperation between the public and the private sector. Obviously, digitalization, bureaucracy, these procedures, these lengthy procedures, still dealing in envelopes, sitting on a desk until they're handed to the next desk so that somebody else can take it upstairs. And this is why we end up with the sort of, if you want something done properly, do it yourself mentality. But as Yorgos said, you can only do that to a point. The bottleneck is there. I know that the Land and Building Developers Association does a lot with the government. So it's just a case of staying focused and making sure that we're persisting so that we don't fall back on what has been a very positive trajectory.
Thank you, Sophia. And I know that this panel will not be complete if we don't talk about technology and artificial intelligence. My next question, I think I'll start with Andreas. Andrea, can I have your comments on how technology and artificial intelligence is going to impact the real estate market in Cyprus?
Well, PropTech adoption is revolutionizing in Cyprus. Banking institutions, developers, agencies, they are increasingly using the adoption of property technology to produce their reports, to understand the market better, to analyze the competition. We are among the few companies that we have introduced a well-developed platform in the real estate. So it is very important nowadays to have such powerful tools in front of you when taking investment decisions. So and the decisions now are taken based on data and not anymore on opinion.
Thank you, Andrea. Mark, can I also have your input on that?
We've been working with AI now for 2 years at the university. Our MBA online is produced by AI, monitored by AI. When it comes to the cheating factor, especially online, the way you change your facial expressions, everything is AI. Our plan is for the next 5 years to have the university generated by 70% on artificial intelligence, to be honest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katrina, we have 2 more minutes or not? Thank you. Christina, last question to you. Please, brief. Can you please share with us your experience on what constitutes value for money for buyers?
Okay, we have
in
to
terms of real estate, of course.
Of course. We need to keep in mind that the purchase of a property is probably the most important decision any consumer will make. So it's important for them to feel confident that their choice has the largest value for money. So value for money is price, the quality, perceived quality, because the quality is perceived different by each profiling and segment of customers, and of course the features that they consider to be equal to quality. I just want to add something regarding the digitalization and the AI. Just we need to keep in mind that due to technology advancements and AI solutions, companies can track the digital footprint of any potential client. And it's important to keep in mind that from the time that the customer thinks of buying a property, the companies do know that. And it's important to follow through to after sale. And one of the most important, when the customer will feel that they have done the right choice. It's what the company does after signing the contract or after they sell. So the after customer sales, and another thing of our little island is the word of mouth. We do talk, and reputation goes a long way in Cyprus. So you need to take care of your customers, so then they will be your ambassadors in bringing you extra customers.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you so
Christina.
much.
Thank you all for your participation here today. Hopefully we didn't waste your time. Do we have time for questions, Katrina? So they can blame you. One question.
Anyway, thank you very much for your presentation. Actually, as I read real estate market analysis, I didn't hear any analysis of the market, no inflation rate, no cost of the finance, how much the mortgage cost, no labor cost, no material cost, no 1 square meter cost, no land cost. So actually, what kind of market analysis? Can you please explain us?
It's a real estate analysis commercial-wise, not construction cost-wise or labor cost-wise. We can hold another panel on construction in Cyprus, and I will give you a very detailed analysis of all those things you said. But here we're focusing mostly, I guess, on the commercial side of real estate and what affects real estate commercially. Demand, supply, prices, external, internal factors affecting the demand profile of Cyprus. But yes, we will be downstairs now and outside here during coffee time, and I will be very happy to discuss all these things that you mentioned.
Thank you. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you.